By the way, Yvonne, your show causes me a lot of problems. I blame you partly for some of the problems I have. I'm sure even after this, there will be some people who are feeling a certain way. But I will continue to be myself. I will continue to speak truth to power. I will continue to explain myself because I have a responsibility, both as an elected leader in this country and as a person who's paid by the taxpayer, to explain all our decisions, even to the members of ODM. We have to explain to them every decision that we have taken, every effort that we have made to bring, sense to bear, our successes, our failures in trying to achieve those things, and then to explain to them our next steps, because we have that responsibility to explain to them our next steps. And I don't know why people are calling it a homecoming, because
what was it for you?
We have given an undertaking that we have to consult the public widely. We have 47 counties, and we have given an undertaking to reach all these counties to speak to the people, find out where they stand on the issues and whether they're going to support some of the propositions we're going to put forward. You will remember that this entire tour began in Busia. When I went to Busia, I didn't hear any big deal, although I come from Western Kenya. We have done Kakamega County, we have done Vihiga County. So there were only 2 counties remaining in Western Kenya that we had not touched. And it just happens that I originally come from Bungoma County. So people were trying to give it all sorts of names. And I remember, because there are people who care deeply about my standing in society, and they're calling me, Sifuna, why are you calling it a homecoming? Your home is actually in Kenya. So everywhere I go is actually a homecoming. And we are still arguing with Babu Owino whether the crowds in Bungoma were bigger than Kisumu or whether they were bigger than Kitengela. But I think it was just something that the media tried to brand, because I originally hail from Bungoma. Of course, I'm elected here in Nirudi. And I think a homecoming for me would actually be here in the capital, because this is where I'm elected to serve. So it's one of the 47 counties, and we have to go to all these counties. I think we have done 16 counties now. There's quite a number to go. I think there's 31 left, and we will go to every corner of the country, because that is what is required to be able to ascertain whether we are a movement that is consequential, that we can actually produce viable candidates in 2022 in all the positions that are available for election. So trust that we will go to Turkana, we will go to Wajir, we will go to Mandera, we will go to Marsabit, we will go to Garissa. And because they are calling me Wakenya now, I can assure you that all of those will be homecomings for me as well. Yeah.
So a homecoming for, you say you would consider a homecoming, Nairobi might be a homecoming?
Like, that is the center of the country, it's the capital of the country, I'm elected here. I think that would be a homecoming.
Okay.
I suspect so.
Edwin Sifuna, are you interested? Are you running? Are you considering running for President of the Republic of Kenya? I
think the straight answer is that as Linda Mwananchi, we are very, very strongly considering the prospect of running a presidential candidate. And that is something that I think is clear. It's coming from the people themselves. They are asking us because there's things that they see that we represent. And we've gotten ourselves here by largely listening to the people. There's a lot of work to be done, Yvonne. I have spoken to you about the tour of the 47 counties. It's not easy to run a presidential campaign. I mean, even just from a constitutional perspective, you need at least 25% in at least half of the counties. We have not even done 20 counties. We are begging and pleading with the public for some level of patience for us to be able to actually ascertain that the support is solid. You have had conversations that this is, somebody compared it to Moto ya Gazeti. We need to know, but you know the beauty is that they started calling it Moto ya Gazeti in February. We are now in August, 6 months for a fire burning. It's not too bad of a fire, and we are hoping to see whether we can take it to all the other places. There's a certain yearning in the country for some level of freshness in the leadership of the country, a radical departure from the policies that we've seen William Ruto putting in place. There's a lot of hue and cry. People are overburdened with taxation, they have no money, there's high unemployment, and they are thinking that maybe we can get a team in place that will turn the course of the country. So all we are asking for is not that we don't hear what the country is saying. We can hear what the country is saying. And I have said in multiple forums that we are not going to ignore the call of the country or the call of a generation. Because at the end of the day, if you are the one who runs around saying Ruto must go, you must be available to go him. If they settle and say, okay, We want Yvonne to be the head of a spear. I mean, you cannot run away from the call of the people. And we're hoping that once we complete the tour of the country and get to as many constituencies as possible, we should be able to give you a straight answer.
My question was,
yes.
Edwin Sifuna, are you interested in running for president of this country?
I have said, because I'm part of the Linda Mwananchi team, the way that decisions are made in Linda Mwananchi are very collegiate. And I wouldn't just be able to do it if I was alone. In fact, Yvonne, I have gotten to this place where we are in this conversation because of all the support that we've gotten from young people, from those online, from the, the bunge la mwananchis all across the places. We have even TikTokers, we have people on social media. They've been pushing this movement. And one of the things that we will not do is to make unilateral decisions. If those people, that's why you see me in every rally, I tell them, you guys are saying we should go and do this. Let that not be a day when I turn back and I don't find you there. So that decision has to be made together with the people so that it is a decision that is owned by everyone and not just Sifuna, And I've tried to plead with people not to make this thing about Sifuna, because at the end of the day, we need to rescue this country. It could be any one of us.
Okay. However, at the rallies,
yes,
it is Mimi ndio Sifuna, Sisi ndio Sifuna.
Yes, absolutely.
So by and large, even when it is a Linda Mwananchi rally, you are seen as the leader of it, the figurehead of it.
I understand that, but I'm saying all those people who are calling themselves Sifunas can be president. There's no bigger Sifuna amongst all the Sifunas in the country.
And if they asked you to run for president?
That's why I'm saying we should make that decision together.
Okay. And if that decision is made,
what I know is,
and they say run for president, is that something you would want? You would do?
I've told them, for as long as I don't turn back and find you guys have disappeared. And that's why you see me asking them, Mona ni chocha? Diboto ya gazeti? And then they say no. So let's see, because we have a lot of work to do in order to have a viable candidature, in order to have a viable campaign. But I am not one to run away. You know that. You've known me all these years. There's no day a responsibility will be placed to me or a call will be made to me and then I run away. We have to answer the call of the country. We have to answer the call of our generation. And I believe that if the people feel that this is the best way for us to proceed, we will not say no. We will proceed with the people. So you have seen that Linda Mwananchi has drawn its membership from across the political divide. Amongst the founder members of Linda Mwananchi are members of the Wiper Party. We have members from other political parties who have said that they identify with the movement. At some point, and we can feel the pressure from the public and from the aspirants as well, and everybody who's invested in Linda Mwananchi to get organized, because it is clear, they say in Swahili, akufukuzae hakuambii toka. It is clear that those in the leadership of ODM now are done with us. Even as we speak today, I think there's a motion that is going to be brought to the Senate to effect further changes in the Senate to remove Senator Osotsi as the chair of the County Public Investments Committee. They're going to remove me from the County Public Accounts Committee. I've seen they're sending me to the Fisheries Committee, which they think is a punishment, but I actually need to learn about agriculture and fisheries and the blue economy because of the coming assignments. So you can tell that they are basically done with us. I remember. Are
you done with ODM?
No, it's about them. It's them who are kicking us out. I remember on Saturday, when we finished our rally in Kitale, I just saw all of us being removed from the ODM WhatsApp group. It's not me who's leaving. They kicked us out, all of us. Are you
resigned to your fate now?
Removed us.
Because previously here and in various press statements, you have been adamant that you are the Secretary General of the party. We know the decision the party has made. The last time you were here, you were Secretary General of the party and Minority Whip in the Senate. Now you don't speak so much about still being an ardent member of the party and an official.
It is obvious, and the public will be left to judge that we have tried, those of us who are in ODM who believe that the party should take a different direction. We have tried to fight for the soul of the party. But we're getting dangerously close to the election, and it is clear that our colleagues in the party have no time for us. And therefore, I mean, we have put up a good fight. I personally feel that I have kept my promise to my boss, that I would not be the one to wreck the party, that he has seen that it is them who have come after us. They have stripped us of all the things that he gave us. We have tried to put up a fight, Yvonne. I mean, we have really tried through persuasion and the other things to talk to everyone. And every time you had conversations and you thought that solutions were in the offing, directives would come from other quarters and a totally different direction would be taken. I had one of the leaders saying it is true that decisions of or affecting the party are taken at State House because now the party is part of government. So I think members of ODM will be left to judge on who is right and who's wrong and who has, kept the promise to Mzee and who hasn't. But by and large, if the polls that we're seeing are anything to go by, I believe that members of ODM know what has transpired and the reasons for some of the decisions that we must take now. So
you will not challenge your removal any further?
No, I think we are getting into the election time proper, and the sort of belief, trust and expectation that has been put upon us in Linda Mwananchi does not allow us to keep mourning for too long the things that we've lost. They are saying they will give us these things back. That is where the story of SG to HE came out of. And therefore our responsibility is to get organized so that we don't let all these people down. Really, right now, we have to focus on the future. And
your polling numbers have continued to rise. Yeah. What does that tell you about, based on the surveys, what people want from you?
It says that I need to keep pushing because the highest I've seen, I think, is 15%, which doesn't get anyone elected president. Why don't you allow me to go to and fetch the votes from Wajir and Mandera and Samburu and the other places? And when I see my numbers near 50% plus one, then maybe you can ask me that question. And Yvonne, if I was going to run for president, do you really think I would announce it at night on a show like this? That is something that you do in broad daylight. You know where we come from.
What's wrong with a show like this?
No, there's nothing. It's at night, surely. You call people in broad daylight and you say, now I'm ready. There's something going on in Bungoma right now. Is that circumcision season? You'll never do those things in the dark. You call everyone there and you stand there and the deed is done, So just be patient. I think you understand that we have to gauge the public sentiment even further. We have to put in place certain things. I am very happy, like the sort of support that has come our way. It's just been humbling, Yvonne, Like even when they throw jibes at us and say, oh, you people have no money, you go to a market like Kiminini and there's an old woman there who's giving you an old 50 shilling note. You can tell that 50 shilling note has done the rounds in that market. And especially knowing like the sort of economic situation that people are in, just what it takes to make even a sale at community market, for somebody to stand up and give you 50 shillings and say, we will finance your campaign, it's been quite amazing. We have seen a lot of support on the pay bill, people just sending us 10 shillings. Do you know how many 10 shillings you need to get 6.5 million shillings in 3 days? It's not a joke. So I want to take this opportunity to just appreciate Kenyans demonstrating that this thing can be done. It doesn't matter what sort of handicap people think that you have. It is possible for a people-driven campaign to actually succeed. And we are hoping that we will not let them down. Okay. And that is why we continue to request that you allow us to do everything that is required to make sure that when we make that pronouncement, it is something that is actually going to hold water. Three things, and this is why I'm telling you that what people are looking for is not a declaration. Because there's multiple people who have declared who are not showing up on those polls. So it tells you that Kenyans are not looking for a declaration. I have tried to explain that the mind is a very powerful, thing, that if people don't see you in an office, it doesn't matter how many times you say you want to be in that office. The mind will just reject the entire notion. So it is not the pronouncement. And people need to see you in that office. And how do they see you in that office? It is, how have we gotten ourselves into this conversation? What have we been doing the past 6 months or so when we were nowhere to showing up in the polls? Secondly, and most importantly, when you have an incumbent who's running below 30% in terms of his approval and the support that he has, it tells you that he's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. And if you put together all the support of the opposition, you see that it is possible, if the opposition were to present a united front, to actually have a new government in place in 12 months. So, which is why we in Linda Mwananchi are more focused about those conversations of unity, making sure that we present a formidable candidate against President William Ruto. Those permutations will change from time to time, because they say that an opinion poll is just a barometer of a moment in time. It changes every time. And this is just one pollster. I'm sure that if there was another pollster, the numbers would be different. You'll find different numbers from Infotrack and the others, and from TIFA and the others. So it is not something to dwell on. What we want is to put in the hard work. Just put in the hard work, reach as many people as possible, try and explain to them this new offering, you know, that things can actually be done differently in our country, and that there are higher aspirations than just some of these things that we hear people talking about, roads and stadiums and so on and so forth. Because when we talk to the people, they are explaining to us that, Sifuna, we want a country that actually lives to the ideals and the values in our constitution. They want a government that is run on values. Any of these governments can do these things that we speak about. But when you increasingly hear and listen to the people in government, their proposition seems to be that for as long as I've built you roads, it doesn't matter how I've treated you. And the people are saying no. The people are saying no, that human rights, democracy, these things are important to them. In fact, they are higher in their pecking order to some of these things that William Ruto likes to front load, like markets and roads. So we have to put in the work. I have said here on this show that nobody thinks, or in Linda Mwananchi, nobody thinks that it's going to be easy. We have to put in the work. We have to persuade people. Tomorrow we have a meeting with a team of our experts who is going to start preparing a platform, because Kenyans are increasingly saying, Sifuna, we all are on the same page that Ruto needs to go, and these are the reasons why we are saying he must go. These are the things he did to get us here. What sort of country do we wake up to after we've kicked him out? Because Yvonne, the sense of unease and impatience that I feel, especially amongst the young people, even if we were to succeed to gain power in this country, we are not going to have the luxury of time. People want to see immediate changes. You've had the story there of Margaret Nyakango, the control of budget, saying our borrowing is getting out of hand. We're dealing with 13 trillion shillings in debt. And there is no other way. We need to have a team in power that will immediately cut government spending, so that we are able to deal with the question of taxation in the next financial year. So there are serious conversations to be had. I want you people to move away from this fascination of who's going to be number one and who's going to be number two. No. That's not it. We want to be able to tell you that this is the country you will wake up to on the 11th of August in 2027.
So Ruto must go, then what?
Yes.
What's your plan?
There is a life we used to live. Then we decided that this life has to stop. And I will take you back to 2002, which was the first time that some of us were voting. When we were kicking out Moi, why were we saying Moi must go? Why were we saying the Kanu state has to go? It's not because Moi did not build stadiums. Moi built 2 stadiums. Moi is the one who built Kasarani. Moi is the one who built Nyayo Stadium. And in fact, after that, no other person has ever built. I think this Talanta is going to be the next one. But there is a life we used to live that was unacceptable to us. And especially as measured against the 6 essential values that I keep speaking about that are highlighted in the preamble of the Constitution. Number 1 is human rights, democracy, the rule of law, social justice, equity, equality. All of those things mean something to Kenyans, that our lives have to be lived within a context of democratic ideals. So when you hear people saying, oh, you tell us how many roads you're going to build, it doesn't matter how many people you've killed as a government. Kenyans are increasingly telling us that these values of human rights and the right to life, that is the reason why people are saying we are not going to be attracted by these shiny things. We know that people who believe in democracy can also build stadiums and roads, but we don't want a dictator in power. We don't want to see the things that happen in our neighboring countries happening in Kenya. So William Ruto, by the way, I will accept that in the election of 2022, he rode on a very popular wave. I think he was very popular, especially with the small Mwananchi. Then you have to ask him, how did he lose all of that support? What are the things that he did? First of all, you get in and power gets to your head and you become very obstinate, that you refuse to listen to the people. There is a value under Article 10 which talks about public participation. We are servants of the people, Yvonne. You have to listen to the people. If the people tell you that they don't want something, you don't force it upon them just because you are in power. That is part of the problem. And all these problems began. I remember in 2023, agree. When Raila was still around and we were running around doing our maandamano with the sufurias on the head, we started by having a conversation at Jivanji Gardens, and we told the government that these are the things we feel you need to address. First of all, the cost of living was going way beyond the means of or the capacity of many Kenyans, and you need to listen so that you are able to make interventions to be able to assuage the suffering of the population. What were we met with? Instead of listening to us, we were met with tear gas and bullets in the streets, and we lost a lot of lives back then. Then comes the taxation. I mean, we have been in this space where the few of us who are on pay slips have been taxed to the bone, you know? And you people can tell that even the purchasing power of Kenyans has gone down because of the high taxation. And what are these taxes going to? He'll tell you about the housing levy. And I asked him, honestly, President William Ruto, he claims he's trying to eliminate slums. What slum was he eliminating in Funyula, for instance? If you go to Funyula, that slum, that affordable housing that I was talking about, 12 floors, I was asking myself, what slum was he trying to eliminate in Funyula? The member of parliament for Funyula, Dr. Undo, is a member of Linda Mwananchi, and he confirmed to me there is no slum in Funyula. The priorities of the people in the area mean something, and you have to listen to them. If you spoke to the people of Busia, they would rather that concrete and steel was used in expanding the Busia hospital, doing schools and other things, because that is their priority. They will not live on the 12th floor because there's no Luya who lives where a chicken cannot live. We live with our chicken, we don't rear them. I don't know if you understand the distinction. So when he's elected here in Nairobi, everybody can count the number of slums that we had in 2022. He should be telling us, because of this taxation, I have closed one slum. There used to be a slum in Mathare, I have closed it. Or even in Embakasi South in Mukuru kwa Njenga, there's a big construction there of affordable housing. If William Ruto was standing to tell the country that I closed the slum called Mukuru kwa Njenga, and those people who are living there are now in these high-rise buildings, then we would listen to him. So when he does all these things, and you get to a place where the people are telling, especially the elected leaders, that don't vote for this proposal, don't vote for this proposal, but you have the head of state, because he's in a position to influence how parliament behaves, he stands up and says, I'm waiting to see which member of parliament will vote against this thing. Yet the people are the ones who are supposed to be the bosses of the members of parliament. And then 2024 happens, you know? And when it happens, all of those deaths in 2024 were actually avoidable, Yvonne. In my view, they were very, very avoidable. All William Ruto needed to do was to listen to the people. And the most annoying thing is that he waits to waste all these lives in cold blood, then he refuses to assent to the bill. I mean, surely. So he argues with us when we point out that things are not working. You see, even this thing called the university funding model, do you know how long William Ruto has argued with us that that thing is working? Even this share, he will come to accept, and even this housing levy, we are giving him time. When it comes to crunch time, he will accept, just like he has admitted that the university funding model is not working. He will come to admit that share is not working, that this housing thing is not working. You know, today we got a visit from kids from Starehe Boys Center here in Nairobi. And we were discussing with them and just wondering, like, even this university funding model, if William Ruto wanted to have a system that actually accurately identifies the most needy students and to support them, all he needs to do is to go to Starehe Center. He didn't have to play around with the lives of these kids the way he has done. Okay. And finally, on that point, you know, he comes around and says, okay, now we are going to change the funding system. But do you know, there are lives that have already been ruined, Yvonne. In the 3 years that he was experimenting with his funding model, there's people who have actually irredeemably been affected, and they might never recover those years that have been lost. Now, I have said to you here on this show that, in fact, the kind of government that Kenyans wanted is already in our constitution. Because of the history that we have suffered, Kenyans want a very specific government. One, that is based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. These are not abstract concepts, Yvonne. You see, I give the example, for instance, if you are a country that is governed by rule of law, there is investor confidence, and I want young people to understand that it is the private sector that invests and then creates jobs for all of us. I have given examples of this institution here, where we are, Royal Media. When S.K. Macharia was trying to start this media house during Moi's time, you remember all the tribulations that he went through. There was times when his licenses would be suspended. They would come and raid the facility and take away equipment and so on and so forth. If you were to ask Yvonne, how many people work at Royal Media Services, for instance, all your radio stations, all your TV stations, and then how many families, directly or indirectly, are actually involved in this entire operation called Royal Media Services? So the rule of law is such that S.K. Macharia knows that he can invest his money in this business. He knows that the government is a licensor. If he has a problem with the licensor, for instance, the government cancels the license for Royal Media Services, he can go to a court that will actually give him a fair hearing. And if the court determines against the government, he should know that the government will obey that order. But we are in a situation where William Ruto runs the country by the so-called Mambo ni Matatu rules. So 1,001 cases here. You are told, okay, you have won the case in court, but tutakutana na wewe kwa ground. You have situations where nobody knows what the sanctity of title means anymore. That how, for instance, do you invite an investor to come and buy a piece of land here in Kilimani to put up a plant or whatever business they want to start, and then the next day they wake up, they hear that that piece of land has 3 titles. One of them is held by the Senator of Nairobi, and that even if you take me to court, I'll either speak with the judge behind the tent or send people or goons to occupy the property, and you'll never have your property. So I need to understand that investors look at some of these things, which is why sometimes when you see these investment contracts, when it comes to dispute resolution, they take them to arbitration in London. Why? Because they don't trust your judicial system. They're not going to put money here. Secondly, Yvonne, corruption is such a big problem for job creation that you have these investors complaining that before you even break ground on your project, you have everybody from the area chief to the MCA, to the MP, to the senator, all the way to the president hassling you for either a direct bribe or a piece of the shares of the business, and that you're not going to be able to do business if you don't accede to that request. So if we do away with all these things and we create an even playing field so that nobody feels like they have to give the president a piece of their business for them to invest in Kenya, we will create more jobs for our young people. So
how would you, in a way that you feel is not being done today?
Yeah, so because the vibe that is coming from the top, you know, they say, and I'll take you back to 2002, you know, the person you elect sends a certain signal as to the things we are going to tolerate and the things we are no longer going to tolerate. So when Kibaki gets elected in 2002, he never issued a decree saying that if you see a police officer receiving or asking for a bribe from your matatu driver, you should arrest them. Kenyans were doing it on themselves. And in the converse, if everybody knows that Sifuna as president has a cut in this airport deal himself, what stops me from also asking for my cut, you know? So there is a vibe that comes from the person who's at the top, that certain things are no longer going to be tolerated, and the team that he assembles to be able to deliver that dream, which is simply not the case right now. And do you have that vibe? I believe that, you know, people can tell. The people can tell because our histories are there. I saw some people saying that I have a very small house, that I should have a bigger house because I'm the senator of Nairobi. They have called me the poorest senator from Nairobi. If I wanted personal enrichment, I could actually do it. I will tell you the story of how Tomboya Social Hall was about to be grabbed one time. And they come and tell you, oh, Sifuna kuna kiwanja tunataka kupiga hapa. It is good money. It's not bad money. And I tell them, those things me I'm not doing. And then I take the question of Tomboya Social Hall to the Senate, and I call the CS for lands there, Alice Wahome. And to her credit, she comes and cancels that title that was given to the private developer who took over Tomboya Social Hall. So it depends on everyone's disposition. You know, we are raised differently. some of us where we come from, if you steal someone's chicken, it's a big problem. But then there's people who actually are regarded as heroes if they come and raid your kraal and take all your cows home. So we are socialized differently. As an elected official in this country, and as somebody who has been in the public space for all this time, our lives are out there. Our lives are an open book. And you can always judge. I don't want to be like the person blowing my own trumpet. And you can look at someone's history. I remember in 2000...
No, but beyond blowing your own trumpet.
In 2022, when we were explaining to the country that a leopard does not change its spots, that the history of people determine how they are going to act in the future to a certain degree. If, for instance, your entire public life has been scandal-ridden, you have been found by a competent court of law to have grabbed Muteshi's land, for instance. There is questions about how you acquired your hotel in Langata, that used to be public land. How would people be shocked if you behave differently in office? They shouldn't be shocked. So our entire histories are there. And
what is your history?
You know, I have been a public figure for the past 12, 15 years.
Tell us.
So I can't go through that myself. You are the people to judge and say, has Sifuna used the opportunities that he has been given by the public to enrich himself?
Have you?
Am I fundamentally different in terms of the wealth that I have?
Are you?
I am not. That's the point that I am making.
So are you fundamentally different from everybody else?
Not everybody else. I am saying, let everybody's history be the one informing your choices about how you feel these people are going to behave in future. Look at us and use a fine-tooth comb to go through all of our opportunities, all of our moments in history, and you'll find out who's the best person. I'm not saying that I am an angel, but would people want to know about your value system, of course, what you hold dear? And the value system is not something you sit and explain on TV. It is a lived thing, you know? It is throughout your entire life, how you've behaved in certain areas. And the question about experience, for instance, I went to Mass at a church in Kitale called Cathedral of Immaculate Conception. And the preaching that day was actually that story of how, what's his name, David's son, Solomon, became the king of Israel. And God visited him in a dream and asked him what he would like. And it was a very simple request. He said he would like understanding to be able to govern the people and discernment to know right from wrong. That is all you need in leadership. Because I think if you know right from wrong, you will not do some of the things that we have seen this government doing. And we hope that we will put together a good team that can be able to plug the gaps. Because as leadership, you must accept that you don't know everything. I think the know-it-all attitude of some of these leaders is part of the problem that we have as a country. And you must accept that, for instance, Sifuna is, you know me as a lawyer. I am not an economist or an expert in economy. But I recognize that there's people who actually have spent their entire lives as economists. So give them opportunity to be able to advise you, listen to their advice, and carry out that advice.
Yes. You were Senate Minority Whip at the time.
Absolutely.
Do you know anything about this? Money being paid to senators to vote a particular way? You know,
this thing is always said. I have heard it a million times, and every time they're invited to demonstrate who was giving the money and for what reason, they have never demonstrated that. So it's something that I actually personally don't pay too much attention to. I think you should be able to speak to that accounting officer that he has named there. Let him account. Tell us, I got money from this guy and gave this guy. That's all we need, because there's a lot of talk in politics and people just trying to besmirch and smear people's names.
But did you hear of any of these allegations?
I have heard these things, I think, from the time that Rigathi was impeached. These stories have been there. This is not the first time that you're hearing that story. And all we need now, Kenyans, is for them to level with Kenyans. Tell us the money was picked from Yvonne and given to Sifuna. That's all we need.
Have you did you receive any money during the impeachment?
No, they should come and tell us who gave us money.
So you didn't receive any payment?
You see, like right now,
to induce you to vote during the impeachment?
I didn't need any inducement when it came to Rigathi's impeachment, because publicly I had taken positions against some of his conduct and his pronouncements. And I'd even at some point, there is one of the grounds of impeachment there was his interference in the running and management of Nairobi City County. I don't know if you remember that. And I had actually put out a public statement saying that he's going too far in his interference with devolution, because that's what I was elected to do. There's a letter that I did, and I wish you had informed me that you'd be discussing this, because I would bring you a copy of this letter. So I actually believed at that particular moment in time, I don't need any inducement to do that, you know. So all of these allegations, they're just wild allegations, because they're always looking for a way to besmirch people's reputations. I remember similar allegations were made by the Council of Governors, you remember. The Senate invited them to present that evidence that some senators were extorting them money. Up to today, Yvonne, you know, it's one thing to make an allegation, and legally, he who alleges must prove. So, for me, these stories are going to continue. Until the day that somebody comes and shows you that this money came from Yvonne and it was given to someone, then these other things are just attempts to muddy the waters. Because that's the same question Frederick Okango is asking on X. We will get to it in a moment, but let me just read it out. He says there were allegations that you have alluded to in February of this year. COG formally naming you amongst 4 senators of extortion, intimidation, harassment. Is he clean, he asked. So how do you know how that story ended, Yvonne? How did that story end for the COG? The COG made accusations in public, but when they made an apology, they made it in private. They came to the Senate and apologized to the Senate, because they, what is it called? The head of the institution there, called the Speaker, Kingi, he actually told them, you come and tell us what accusations you have against, or the proof that you have against these senators, and there was nothing. They actually came and apologized. There was another case in the National Assembly which was very curious regarding one of my allies, the Honorable Jack Wamboka, and I happened to represent him. You know him, it went all the way to hearing, which is something that we didn't see in the Senate. We had a sitting of the Powers and Privileges Committee in the National Assembly, and I was very embarrassed, because the person who was making that accusation was actually Reverend Kobia, somebody who has a very high reputation and somebody who I have a lot of respect for. So when we were cross-examining him during those hearings, we asked him, even the people, you know, he said he had heard from somebody else that the Honorable Wamboka was seeking or soliciting funds from him, and the people who he said he heard from had written letters to the National Assembly saying that is not a correct position, you know. So it is one thing to allege things, but when we come to the crux of a matter and tell you, okay, show us this evidence that you have against so-and-so, they always scramble and cross-exam. The biggest complaint from Reverend Kobia was that Jack Wamboka, in his handling of a committee meetings, is very rough. You know, the way he talks. And in fact, he compared Mheshimiwa Wamboka to the other chair of cohesion in the Senate. I think it's Senator Chute. So I asked him, do you really expect all of us to be the same in the way that we talk or the words that we choose and how we behave? No, the biggest problem is that he felt that he was being handled roughly. It's the same thing with the members of the Council of Governors and the experiences in the Senate Public Accounts Committee. But I have argued, Yvonne, that there is no senator who can be nice in the face of some of the things that we have seen being brought out of the County Public Accounts Committee. And one of the things that people forget is that those responses come from the governors themselves. So, for instance, my friend in Embu, she came to the Senate and she told us she took 10 million shillings from the KIPES project, which is the County Aggregation and Industrial Parks project, to throw a bash for the border. My brother from Vihiga did the same. They took 5 million shillings and threw a housewarming for the completion of the Speaker's house. You have our brother from Taraka, for instance. He comes and the responses are so bad. When you tell him, just read for me what you have written here, he says, Sifuna, I can't read, I forgot my glasses at home. So then they say we are harassing them. They are saying we are using the committee for to settle political scores and so on and so forth. But you should press them, because when they call those press conferences, Yvonne, your media houses are there. You people never press these governors and say, why don't you tender that evidence against Sifuna? Which is this governor who says I extorted them? What is the evidence against them? So wamejaribu kuharibu jina na imekataa. You see? So they will throw around all these sorts of things. But for me, our job is to remain focused. Some of these people who are throwing around mud here, if their files are open, the Kenyans will be shocked. Do you want me to tell you about my house first? Because it was in the same clip, but you've only focused on one piece.
Tell us
First of all, Kenyans must know that I am very proud of that house. I built that house in 2015. And on average, I spent a maximum 2 weeks out of a year in that house when I take my daughter home for Christmas. Those people who are saying, oh, sijui what, it's okay. Some of us are built different, Yvonne. We are not attracted to flashy things and grandiosity. You know, I see some people saying, oh, because you are so-and-so, you should have this and this. It is possible to be modest. I remember you were with us. I think you came to Raila's home in Opoda. Is it a grand structure? It's just a house. It's just a house in the village. Even his house here in Karen, it's a very modest house by the current standards. I've seen people building monstrosities there, wall to wall. So it just depends on who you are and what things you fancy. Some of us are okay for as long as you're comfortable with some of these things and we're not attracted to this grandiosity. So that one is neither here nor there. And the fact that it is that house that people are discussing, it means wabetafuta story bewashinda. And our focus, our challenge is to remain focused on making sure that we succeed in the next election. We have a team of people who we believe can help us develop a platform. We're not even calling it a manifesto because the word manifesto has a lot of negative connotations. Kenyans are used to all these lofty promises. You have a document that is 100 pages and then none of those things is fulfilled. And which is why I was dissuading you, Yvonne, from discussing these positions of, which seat are you going for, who's going to be the deputy, who's going to be number one. Those are secondary conversations. We want to start these conversations with our partners by trying to understand. First, we have a policy proposal, a platform proposal that is going to revert the country back to its democratic ideals. The 6 values that I've talked about in our constitution, because that's the government that Kenyans said they wanted when they passed this constitution. What is your understanding of rule of law? What is your understanding of freedom? What is your understanding of democracy? How have we gotten ourselves here? And what is your understanding of the sort of country that people want immediately we are able to take power? Those conversations to us as Linda Mwananchi are more important than these other things where people are saying, oh, who do you go into coalition with, who do you go into coalition, or who you don't go into coalition with. So that is where we are. I think we should be able to have those conversations with our friends. You saw us having a meeting with the Honorable Matiang'i, and we are open about even the issues we have with them. And we say it publicly there. When I met Matiang'i at a funeral in Kisii, I reminded him of the experience we had with him in Bonchari and the experience I had with Rigathi Gachagua during the times of when he was deputy president. So we are not going to shy away from difficult conversations about some of these people's, public record and conduct in public office. We have to have those difficult conversations and say, if we agree that this is the country that we want to see, then who's the best person to be able to deliver that new country that Kenyans seem to be telling us they want?
Would you be looking for people with similar values, similar principles to those
people who agree with us,
you hold, or what would be the basis of that?
The people who agree that the sort of government we want to form is not just your regular government. We want to revert the country back to the essential values like those, the rail of values, these ones here. There are only 6. Yeah. So in that framework, if you agree with us that this is what you believe Kenyans want, then we will be able to say this is the best person to deliver that dream.
With their past record?
Of course, I have said it here. I have said it here. I have told them.
Yeah.
Hey, I've told them that we don't want candidates who will have problems if you put them in a debate with William Ruto. If I say we are kicking you out because of ordering police to shoot young people in the foot, would he be able to say, even you, Sifuna, you did the same? That's a problem we have to confront.
Someone like Governor Irungu Kang'ata, who has joined some of your rallies, is part of the movement?
Yeah, he said that he's part of the movement, and we were very, very honored that he joined us. He's my classmate. He's somebody who I have known for a long time, and he has to make tough decisions about his politics at home because, you know, at another level there is a lot of balancing to be done in these regions. So you will agree with me that, for instance, in certain areas of the country, there's people who have very strong political persuasion, and they might determine the down ballot candidates. So People will make those decisions, but at the end of the day, at least we agree that we have a responsibility to remove the current president, because he's the one who's an existential threat. He called us as members of the opposition an existential threat, but he's the one who's an existential threat to our democracy, and he needs to go.
Would you work with Rigathi Gachagua?
We will work with everyone who believes in these things. We will work with everyone who believes that William Ruto does not deserve an extra day in office. And for as long as that is our cause, we will work together. There is no problem.
So is it about political numbers, or is it about a value-based system? Because a short while ago,
yes,
you just said you needed no inducement,
yes,
to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, yes, as deputy president.
Yes.
Now you say you could possibly work with him. What has changed?
Nothing has changed, because you see, first of all, as a lawyer, I will tell you there is a rule against double jeopardy. So he paid for his mistakes. He was impeached. What else do you want me to do? Beat him? He already was impeached. I already voted to impeach him. And it was for specific crimes, which we have discussed here, you and me. But I'm telling you, he's the one now who's saying William Ruto is actually an existential threat to the country, and whatever it takes that he can do to help remove him. And by the way, there's a curious thing that he says, that he feels largely responsible for William Ruto becoming president, and that therefore he has a greater responsibility in removing him than anyone else. And that is something that I agree with, because at the end of the day, we have to kick out William Ruto, you know? So if he's going to, and I've given this analogy, that if he's going to hold the leg of the animal that we are hunting, and somebody else holds another leg, and another one distracts him, and then we're able to put down this animal, it is okay for the future of the country. A lesson needs to be taught in 2027, Yvonne, that if you come to office through democratic means and then you refuse to listen to the people, or you abandon the cause of the people, and you do the things that William Ruto has done, and we have gone through how we have gotten to this particular point in time, that you have to be removed. And I think it will help our democracy, so that even the next person who succeeds William Ruto in office in 2027 will know that for as long as you depart from what you promised Kenyans and you start doing your own things because you think now you are a big man, you'll also be kicked out.
So this is all about political expediency. This is about both. One man for you.
It is both, absolutely, because I have said he is worse than even that Rigathi that you're talking about. He is. In mature democracies, actually it is the public that finances leaders to be able to run for office. And it all started with this notion that somehow we in Linda Mwananchi do not have money to be able to run a campaign. And I tell young people that there is something that the political class has done or succeeded in doing, making it seem like you need billions and billions of shillings to be able to run for office. It is part of a self-preservation strategy by the political class, because it scares away, especially young people. When you hear the figures that are being thrown around, you're like, where am I going to get 4 billion shillings to run for office? But I am saying you don't need 4 billion shillings, you know? So the people hear that, these guys are saying that Linda Mwananchi cannot run for office because they don't have money. Well, how about we finance this thing ourselves? Number two, there was one of the prominent persons in the country who said, forget these 10 shillings, you can just call me and I'll give you 1 billion shillings and you'll be able to be on your way. And the public are saying this is part of a problem, because if you have a few wealthy donors who then give you all the money that you need, you will all those people going into your administration. And maybe if the interest of those few people clashes with the public interest, you are more likely to listen to those who gave you the money to campaign than the public. So if you want to insulate your leaders, from the corrupting influence of money, you should be able to be the ones to say, we own this candidate. And it has worked in many, many democracies. I remember when Bernie Sanders, the senator in the US, was running for office, and even Barack Obama himself, he received one of the highest small donor contributions for his campaign. So it is an awakening. And I'm telling you, when I went to Western Kenya, and I go to Kiminini market, and these mamas in the market are bringing you 50 bob, 10 shilling coins. It was a very emotional moment for me, because first of all, I appreciate that they are going through a very difficult time. And for them to say, we're going to spare whatever it is little we have for you to be able to for us to be able to support your campaign, it is something that is a very powerful moment for me, and I will never forget. I want to assure the people in all those places in Kiminini, in Kamukuywa, in Chwele, who contributed to us those small amounts, that we will put that money to good use.
What are you using the money for?
So essentially, Yvonne, on average, Linda Mwananchi spends maybe 2.5 million shillings per meeting that we run. And the expenses are very straightforward. Basically, it's the stage, it's the sound, it's paying the DJs, it's paying security personnel because we need them, and so on and so forth. So that is what essentially campaigning is about.
Are you going to account for these monies? Because
absolutely.
The pay bill you have is very public. How are you going to do that?
Absolutely. The good thing with a pay bill is that you can obtain a statement, you know? You can obtain a statement showing money in and money out.
Yeah,
you know?
But then where the money goes to, I'm saying, is that something, because the pay bill is owned by you, to be fair.
Yeah, and if the
so
people
what is your accounting mechanism? If the people sending us money, I don't know if you have sent money. No, I have not.
Yeah, so it is their money. It is their money, and they are choosing voluntarily to send that 10 shillings to me. If
Understood.
that mama in Kamukuywa asks me, Sifuna, where did my 10 bob go, I will explain to them where that 10 bob went.
My question is this. No, my question is this, because you have a public paper.
Yes.
You know, you put it up on social media.
Yes.
What is the method of accountability on that same platform with the same prominence? Do you have a plan that says 6.5 million shillings is here?
Yes.
How do you plan to do this accounting? Do you want to hang on a second?
You can actually show a spreadsheet of your expenditure.
Are you going to do a spreadsheet?
If the people who have given us
money ask the question?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would wish you speak about your money, Yvonne. Don't speak about other people's money.
No. We're here. We hold this job in public trust. And the questions we're asking are questions by the people.
These are not taxes.
They may not be taxes, but they are money that is owed to people. And if you were looking at this as a position of leadership, and to act as an example that you say would be different from others who are in office or others who desire the same position, my question to you is, what is your form of accountability? Is it going to be after every county trip? Is it going to be every 6 months? Is it going to be every year? Where does this public, accountability happen?
I don't know what the people who have contributed to the pay bill, what format they want. If they wanted daily accountability, it's possible to do it. If they wanted monthly contributions or monthly accountability, it's possible to do it. So what we've been doing...
But what is your method of accountability? Aside from what the people want, do you not feel you have a responsibility from the 10 shillings and the 50 that you're getting? So what is your promise of accountability to them, rather than putting the responsibility on them for asking?
At the end of this campaign, at the end of this campaign, we will account for every coin that we have received. We will tell you, on this day, X amount of money was withdrawn, this is what it went to. You know, because we are not looking for personal enrichment from that pay bill, Yvonne. And we have a responsibility, I agree with you, to the people who are contributing that money, to be able to explain to them that they are able to see this is the work that has been done in terms of... But they understand that they are facilitating this movement to be able to reach as many people as possible. So when you see 2 back-to-back rallies succeed, if, for instance, they look at the sort of... set up in Bungoma and they're saying, no, Sifuna, that cannot be 2 million, it would be a problem. And you can see that it offers an advantage because then you are able to be in more places than your opponent, to be able to do some of those things. If you saw, for instance, the campaigns in Malava and campaigns in Olkalau, it's ridiculous, the sort of money that is being spent just on a campaign for one seat. And the question then becomes, what is the plan for the return on investment that is put there? And it can only be one answer, Yvonne. So if those regulations come, of course, I am one of the biggest supporters for capping how much money a candidate can spend. By self-interest, of course, dictates that I support it, because I actually don't have that kind of money that I see people spending around in campaigns. So let the regulations come. If a capping is put, we in Linda Mwananchi have always believed in and preached rule of law. We will comply with those regulations. I think there's characters whose reputation is known. I don't think that we would accept donations from some of those people because we would doubt their motivation. You know, what is your motivation? I said I would rather be indebted to 10 million Kenyans who send me 10 bob each than 2 people sitting and saying we have 5 million shillings each, you know, because there's always a motivation behind it. And we are hoping for a clean break, and that is why we are saying the public needs to insulate some of his movements from that corrupting influence of money.
So you would also tell the public you received 10 shillings from...
I have publicly refused to take money from someone, Yvonne.
Okay.
I said it. So why are you asking me a question that you know? I have said publicly, there's someone who offered me 1 billion shillings and I told him to keep it.
Is former President Uhuru Kenyatta funding your campaign?
No, he's not.
Have you spoken to him?
I speak to him because he's the party leader of Azimio. I do speak to Uhuru. Yeah, and he's a friend to, was a friend to the late Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. So when you run into him, you talk to him. Ama, you will avoid him.
So he's not funded?
No, he's not.
Does he make any other contribution of any kind?
No, maybe just encouraging us. When he speaks, and he does it in public, he says young people need to be encouraged to take leadership. You've heard him saying it.
And that young person is you?
Young people. This thing is not about Sifuna.
Yeah, I'm asking a question. I'm sitting down now with Sifuna, so the question will be directed to you.
He has publicly encouraged young people.
Yeah.
I am 44 years, by the way. I doubt that he's even talking about people like me. He's talking about the young people aged below the age of 35. He wants them to participate in these things. And I'm happy that many of them are answering the call. You can see many of them are offered themselves to be MCAs, MPs, senators, even governors. There's very young governor aspirants that I've seen in Linda Mwananchi rallies. And that is what he's been encouraging them to do.
Has he encouraged you in the Linda Mwananchi movement?
I'm already in leadership.
Yeah, but...
I am already a senator.
So you don't need any more encouragement?
No, we don't need more encouragement. We want these people who don't participate in politics to participate, who view this thing as something in the abstract or something that is beyond them, to realize that there is need for them to involve themselves in politics. And I think that's what he's been saying.
Does he provide you with any strategy?
No.
None at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any conversations you have are about... Would you care to share?
Those are my private conversations with Uhuru. Unless you want to join the next meeting, Yvonne, you can come and sit in and listen.
Let's take questions now from members of the public.